Hello everyone, I am Marifedi Malyonga, a graduate study student. This video is for my PA 505A Public Policy and Analysis under Mark Bon G. Basadre. So the topic which is assigned to me is policy adoption process in the Philippine context. Once the policy is formulated and it is time for policy adoption. This is when policymakers formally adopt a policy solution, usually in a form of legislation or rules. So let's begin with its definition. So I have six definitions here. The first is from Palau 2013. Policy adoption is the third phase of the policy process, in which policies are adopted by the government bodies for the future implementation. Policy is legitimized as a result of the public statements or actions of government officials, both elected and appointed, the President, Congress, state, legislators, agency officials, and the courts. Number two, James Anderson. It is the third stage in the policy-making process which involves the practice of deciding which among the processed policies alternatives, including taking on action, will be used to handle a particular problem in the society. Number three, Michael Howlett and Sarah Gist. It is part of the standard set of procedures in policy-making process which is expected to lead in all circumstances to the choices of the most efficient means of achieving policy goals. Number four, Thomas Birkeland. Policy adoptions begins after an issue or a problem is placed on the agenda and makes its way through the legislative process until it comes close to the decision agenda. With a Congress case, the process usually begins by winnowing down a set of alternatives that are for the most part debated and formulated in the committees. Number five, Gary Brewer and Peter De Leon. It refers to the choices among policy alternatives that have been generated and their likely effects on the problem estimated. It is the most overtly political stage insofar as the many potential solutions to a given problem must somehow be winnowed down and but one or a select few picked and realized for use. Number six, Alan Gitelson, Robert Dudley, and Melvin Budnick. It is the next step after policy formulation, which includes the efforts to obtain enough support to enable a proposal to become the stated policy of a government. At this point, most policy proposals go through a process of bargaining and compromise and emerge significantly changed. So those were the six definitions of policy adoption. Next is the process of adoption. Formulated policies have to be adopted by relevant institutions of government in order to put into effect. Adoption can be affected by the same factors that influence what issue move into the earlier phase of the agenda building. Meanwhile, powerful interest groups can use their political influence to determine what policies are adopted. How are laws made? In the Philippines, a law starts off as a bill filed in a Congress. It then goes through a process which culminates with its submission to the President for his consideration. Once signed, the bill thereafter becomes law. To learn about how this process works, we have to first look at the Congress of the Philippines. The Congress is divided into two chambers: the House of Representatives, which is composed of district and party list representatives, and the Senate, which is composed of senators. A member of Congress can file a bill. A bill is a proposed legislation, hence it is called panukalang batas, which identifies a societal problem and provides a solution to solve that problem. through a passage and implementation of a new law. Once a bill is filed, it has to go through three readings. The first reading, the bill is introduced to the plenary and is referred to the appropriate committee. A committee is a body within the House of Representatives composed of a limited number of House members. They concentrate on specific topics for legislation. After receiving the bill, the committee members deliberate the provision of the bill, bringing in resource persons and experts as part of technical working groups and edit the bill if necessary. The endpoint of committee action is the resulting committee report of the bill, which is voted upon the members of the committee. An approved committee report will then be referred to the Committee on Rules, which schedules the same for sponsorship, interpolation, and amendments at the plenary level. The plenary level is composed of all members of the House. There the bill is sponsored by the main proponent of the proposed law. The sponsor will be interpolated by his fellow members. He must defend a bill and reason with his colleagues that it must be passed. Some questions may be asked. Is there really a problem? How does the bill solve the problem? Is this the best approach available? Is the bill constitutional? The members of the House can introduce amendments to the bill. The bill that survives this process impact or with amendments will then be set for second reading, where all the members will vote to approve the bill in its final form. The bill will then be set for consideration on third reading. At least 3 days before that date printed, copies of the bill are distributed to all members of the House for their review. On third reading, they vote whether or not to approve it. A bill approved on third reading shall then be transmitted to the Senate. The Senate can concur with the bill. If the Senate concurs, the bill is being enrolled and transmitted to the President for his signature. If the Senate and the House do not agree of the provision of the bill, a bicameral conference committee is created. This committee is composed of representatives from both the House and the Senate. Together, they harmonize the differences of the bill and produce an amended or new version which is transmitted back to both the House and the Senate for ratification. Once ratified, the bill is enrolled, which means the Speaker of the House, the Secretary General of the House, the President of the Senate, and the Secretary of the Senate signed the bill and transmitted it to the President for his signature. The President studies the bill and can either sign it as it is, sign it with vetoed items, which means there are provisions that he rejects, or veto the bill outright. A bill that is signed by the President shall now become law. The law shall then take effect after its publication either in the official gazette or in a newspaper for general circulation. The media also play a key role in policy adoption. When reporting and commentary is unbiased, it can provide a forum where debate over various cases for policy adoption takes place. When the media displays a favorable bias, it can enhance a policy proposal's likelihood of adoption. On the other hand, an unfavorable media bias may undermine a policy proposal. Governors or mayors can adopt policies to bring out changes on a state or local level. However, the President has the sole responsibility of determining what policies are adopted on a national level. Congress has some influence over policy adoption, as it must approve the President's action. Once the relevant government bodies adopt policies, they move into the next phase of the policy process, which is policy implementation. A clear, well-written policy and procedure reflects long-term vision and mission statement. They also create a framework for making consistent and fair decisions and work to protect the legal interest. The adoption process, which typically consists of reviewing, testing, modifying, and ratifying, is critical for making sure policies and procedures enhance rather than hinder the likelihood of meeting these objectives. That would be all. Thank you. I will pass the time now to the next presenter, Ms. Emalucy Abar, to discuss to us the topic of issue and challenges of policy adoption.